peacekeepers will once again attempt to deliver much-needed medical supplies to the town of Dubridge today. For the past 2 days, UN convoys have been unable to get through the roadblock, which has cut off the
Dubridge con le provviste medicali. Infatti, negli ultimi 2 giorni, i mandati delle Nazioni Unite non hanno potuto
escorté par des casques bleus canadiens, va tenter pour la 3e fois cette semaine de franchir un barrage routier.
Since 1947, more than 100,000 Canadian soldiers have taken part in United Nations peacekeeping missions. General-purpose combat training has proven to be the best preparation for the soldiers deployed on these operations, although they are not typical combat situations. In fact, they have presented challenges to the soldiers and their leadership that were sometimes more complex than general war. Missions are often carried out in support of civilian humanitarian organizations in areas of high tension. Combatants are often mixed with innocent civilians. Peace is transitory, and volatile situations can quickly escalate to fighting.
Morning.
And always there is the presence of journalists representing the news media from around the world.
We're here to find out about the convoy that's going out, the medical
John
convoy.
Burke reports on Canadian peacekeeping missions for Global Television News.
Okay.
Generally, the situations that Canada's got involved in are big international stories. You know, whether it's in the Middle East, in Somalia, Cyprus for a number of years, and currently in Bosnia. So it's a hot news story, if you wish, and then there's a Canadian element which becomes the peacekeeping, and that becomes, in a way, I guess, a news hook.
Canadians are interested in what Canadian peacekeepers are doing out there, and part of my job is to explain exactly what it is they are doing, here, to bring back stories that say, here they are, this is what they're doing, this is the mission they're trying to accomplish, this is how successful they are at it.
When I came back, a lot of Canadians told me that even though they hadn't seen their own husband or daughter or boyfriend in print in the things that I had sent home, it gave them a sense that people were feeling good and that people were all right. They were eating well, they were sleeping well, morale was good, and they were feeling good about the job.
Morning. Morning. Hi, Michael Moraine. Are you planning to go and try to get through the barricade again today?
Yeah, we're leaving in about an hour.
Nowadays, the print and broadcast media are everywhere. From the smallest local newspaper to the worldwide news-gathering organization of CNN. And the widespread use of new technologies, like fax machines, cellular telephones, and satellite communications, means that the speed at which news travels today is virtually instantaneous. The media are the primary source of information for most Canadians. They provide the best way of reaching the public with information about the policies, programs, and activities of the Canadian Forces. In fact, you, as a member of the Canadian Forces, have an important role to play in telling Canadians about what it is that you do. It can be very demanding for peacekeepers who find themselves in unfamiliar and often dangerous situations like this. On top of everything they have to do in order to carry out their mission successfully, they also have to deal with the media, who are there to cover the story. A good place to start in preparing to deal with the media is learning a little about how the media works. Journalists are always trying to get the jump on the competition, looking for a new story or a different angle, especially for TV. At times, reporters and cameramen will put themselves at risk in order to get a story.
I come back.
You gonna try and talk your way through there, sir?
No.
In fact, more than 100 journalists have lost their lives on the job while covering UN peacekeeping missions.
OK, demandez aux journalistes de reculer, s'il vous plaît. OK? Ça les rend nerveux, là, vous m'empêchez de faire mon travail. This is a medical. That's an hospital. OK? This for help you people. No, you don't want.
No good. Go. Okay. Go.
Saint-Pierre, appelez à 1-2 et dites-leur qu'ils veulent pas nous laisser passer, puis demandez-leur des instructions sur ce qu'ils attendent de nous. OK, là, ce qui se passe là, présentement, c'est que nous, on voulait passer avec un convoi.
It can be unnerving to be constantly surrounded by cameras and microphones. But you should understand that a reporter's job is to present the most complete and factual account of an event that he or she can to the public. They'll try to cover both sides of a conflict and present all parties' points of view.
Why won't this convoy go through the barricade today? It was red cross.
When it's very tense, well, we have no time to discuss with them. And sometimes, even if there's a big tension on the area, they try to ask some information, and we don't have any time to answer them.
I have a respect for them. I didn't know what to have for journalists before, because I never had any experience with them. They're going into the same areas we do. They're in areas that are very dangerous. They're running the same risks. The bullets don't know any whether you're military or civilian. Neither do the snipers.
While the journalists' focus is on getting the story, for the most part, they won't do anything to interfere with the carrying out of your mission. They understand that in an operational theater, it's impossible to anticipate everything that could happen. In those heart-pounding moments when things don't work out as planned, the media will respect your need to focus your attention on operational priorities.
How badly are they hurt? OK, maison neuve! Dis-leur qu'il y a peut-être des mines dans le secteur qui arrêtent de courir partout. Ça va les calmer un peu. Lâche pas, mon vieux. On est à partir de... Tiens-toi, c'est ça. OK. Respire. Relax. Levez. OK, on y va tranquillement. C'est parti. OK. Ça va aller, mon grand. Ça, c'est beau.
We don't know.
Yes, hi, Michelle. This is Conrad Bellimar calling from the former Yugoslavia. We've been waiting for the UN convoys to pass the bridge.
Again today, the convoy was not allowed to cross. And at the point where they were turning around, one of the APCs, the armored vehicles, hit a landmine.
And 2 soldiers were hurt.
OK, arrête ça là, bouge plus.
Marchez.
Rien que derrière passer. Bouge pas, grand, ils vont se passer d'abord.
Commander, can you answer a few questions for us, please?
Oui.
Tell us how many people were injured?
OK, on a 2 blessés présentement.
Quelle est la gravité des blessures?
OK, pour la gravité, là, je suis pas médecin, mais je sais qu'il y en a un qui est présentement en état de choc. C'est pas vraiment grave, ça va se passer.
We certainly, when we're covering stories out in the field like that, make a big effort not to get in the way. Because we aren't there to interfere, we aren't there to change the course of anything that's going to be happening. We're there to record it and to tell the story.
Especially in these peacekeeping missions, the public can't get there otherwise. They can see pictures on air every night of bombings or of misery, and it somehow tends to blend together. Is this Somalia, or is this South Africa, or is this somewhere else? But if you have a reporter on location that you trust, whether it's actually there or here distilling a number of elements, our job is to put it in some kind of perspective and say this is important because, and here are the people who will tell you why it's important.
Corporal Orford? Yes. Hi, Major Rouleau, Public Affairs Officer. How are you feeling?
Not too bad, sir.
Great. We've got a journalist that has asked for an interview with you.
It's perfectly normal to feel a bit nervous about being interviewed by the media, particularly if it's something you've never done before.
Listen, it's really not that complicated. They're going to ask you questions.
But if a reporter insists on speaking with you, it's usually for a very good reason. Journalists want to hear the story directly from the people involved, not someone else. Only you can really explain what you've experienced.
If you talk to an ordinary person serving out there, man or woman, who talks a little bit about their job, how they're feeling, what they're doing every day, what went on last night perhaps, it gives the average person a much better sense of what the theater is like.
You want to talk to the people who have the knowledge of what it is that's going on. You want to talk to the people who have gone through whatever it is that you're trying to find out about.
The public affairs people maybe are facilitators, but they're not necessarily first-hand, front-line kind of people. If they can facilitate you to get to the people who actually did see what happened, who actually are in the know, then they're doing their job. But those are the people we want to talk to, the ones who have seen it and experienced a situation.
Listen, a couple things we might want to think about while you're doing the interview. You want to be as
If you're approached by the media for an interview, and the chain of command approves, it's a good idea to speak about it with your unit's public affairs officer. While they can't replace you in an interview, they are specially trained to help you prepare for the experience. Here are some of the key things to remember. Listen carefully to the questions and be concise with your answers. Use plain language and stay away from military jargon. Stick to the facts, what you actually saw. Don't speculate or offer personal opinions about what happened. When you're being interviewed, stay within your own area of expertise. You should be able to explain in simple terms why you're in a particular place and what it is you do. Refer questions outside of your scope of responsibility to the appropriate sources. Even if a situation appears unfavorable, look for opportunities to be positive about your mission. Your attitude, especially on TV, is the most important factor when dealing with the media. Be personable, informal, and most important, always be honest when responding to a reporter's questions. If you're unable to answer a particular question, then explain why not. For example, if you don't know the answer or the information is classified, then say so. You have every right to not answer questions of a personal nature should you prefer not to. And finally, when you're being interviewed, don't speak off the record. Assume that everything you say will be videotaped, written down, and used in the news story.
That's it, guys. Okay?
I would say keep it brief, to the point. Don't over-dramatize or under-dramatize if you wish. Be honest. Tell us everything you can that's within your capability. Don't hold back unless there's a really good reason. Just basically be frank and upfront. I think that's what reporters are looking for.
I would say the best advice is to be honest and simple and straightforward as much as possible. And to say something other than, I'm just doing my job.
If a journalist is openly hostile or clearly attempting to trap soldiers or sailors into saying something that will be controversial or negative about the forces, I think the average person in uniform will understand that very quickly, and they can govern themselves accordingly. But I think that's rare, frankly. I think most journalists really want to go in and do the job and cover the news. Let people back here know how the folks are doing out there.
Today in the former Yugoslavia, 2 Canadian peacekeepers were injured when their armored personnel carrier struck a landmine. Michael Moraine has the story.
The Canadians were escorting a UN humanitarian convoy trying to deliver much-needed medical supplies to the remote town of Dubrich, which has been cut off for the past 3 months. But the convoy was refused permission to pass the roadblock, and it was in the course of turning around that one of the armored personnel carriers struck a landmine. 2 Canadian soldiers were injured in the blast. While every effort is made to sweep for mines prior to any mission, mines are constantly being moved and replaced, and there is no surefire way to guarantee the safety of any convoy route.
Okay, normalement, les routes comme ça sont déminées. On a déjà passé ici, il n'y avait pas de mine. Là, on ne sait pas ce qui s'est passé.
Fortunately, neither of the injured soldiers was seriously hurt. The driver of the APC, Corporal Alain Sévigny, was released from hospital later in the day, while the vehicle's commander, Corporal Mark Olford, is being kept for observation overnight. Despite a bad headache, Corporal Olford agreed to talk to us about the incident.
When my platoon warrant told me to turn around, I told my driver to start turning the vehicle around, but I guess he must have went large on the road or something, and the next thing I saw a blinding flash of light. And after that, I woke up in the hospital.
That sounds like an awfully risky job. You know, you could have been killed or wounded badly for the rest of your life. Don't you think it's too risky?
Risk is part of the job, but you don't just look at the risk. I mean, you got to look at all the people we save with the medical supplies. Even though we don't always get through, but we get through more often than not.
Despite today's incident, UN sources tell us that the Canadian convoy will once again try to get through the roadblock tomorrow. And for the sake of the people of Dubrich, one can only hope that they're successful. for News Canada Network, this is Michael Moraine on the road to Dubridge.